Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about something different. It's about programming, but even more than that. Five mistakes that every programmer makes. I've made them, at least most of them mistakes. Well, actually all of them. I'm sure you made them too. We all make it. We all guilty of it. Either intentionally or non-intentionally, we do. So today we're going to talk about what are those mistakes, why do we make it, and what is the remedy, how to fix it, okay? How to be mindful so that we don't make that same mistake over and over. And the reason for this topic is actually a lot of people on my channel comment that they feel frustrated, that some people say literally that they suck at programming, they don't know how to survive in this ever-changing world of programming, especially front end, or even other areas. New fields come and go in the world of software, and a lot of people don't know how to survive. And that may be because they may be making the same mistakes over and over. And if you can avoid some of them, then you can become a better programmer, and then you can have more success. So today we're gonna discuss it. And welcome to Techsit Tutorials. Very first mistake, and I think this one is like a really bad one. Coding without knowing the full solution. It's like you need to go somewhere and you start walking without knowing the destination. You know that you have to come back or you have to take a longer route, right? So if you're given a project, let's say you don't know the full requirement and you just start jumping into writing code, or you start writing something, okay? That's our nature. We need to start going. Some people say that I know what I'm doing. I don't need design. I don't need to write anything down. I don't need to plan. But that can be a very grave mistake. If you do a lot of refactoring in your code a day-to-day basis, then you are making this particular mistakes. Yes, sometimes it's because people change requirement, but often it's because you started without thinking. When you get a project and you're supposed to write down the main points, you need to look at all the factors, design, okay, corner cases, a lot of things. Then you need to say, okay, how I'm gonna structure this project. Can I have some helper functions? Can I pull some of the common functionality out into some utility libraries or whatnot, right? That happens before we write coding, right? What about the validation? Do I need validation in those fields, right? So remember, it's faster to write things from scratch, but it's way more expensive to refactor code. Imagine if you have a tiny bug in your code and you need to change the code. It takes way more. It could take a day, because you need to make sure that nothing else breaks, right? So it takes more to refactor than write from scratch. So don't start coding without knowing the full solution. Okay, the second mistake is fix it later. We have all done that many times. For example, when I make these videos, right? Sometimes I feel like I was supposed to say something, but I did not say it, or I don't remember. So I'll just say, you know what? I'm just gonna fix it in post. Post-production, which means when I do my editing, I'll just, chop some part of the video so it looks smoother. But sometimes, but then when I start editing, I realize that I can't do that because I actually, there are moments which it looks like a jump cut or something unusual, and there's no way to cut it. Sometimes I just do it anyway because I've spent so much time in it, and you have to live with your mistakes, and I've learned how to deal with it, right? So I would say things over and over if it doesn't work out. Even right now I'm saying it, okay? This is my third take. So what is a fix it later means in programming? It means I I don't have a solution right now, or I know the solution to this problem, but it may take longer, or I don't know the full solution. So I have this patch, I have this hack that works in most of the cases, but not all of the cases. Okay, and sometimes it may make sense if you have a blocker, which without this you cannot move forward, and you know it's gonna take longer time. Then sometimes you can do it, but the problem is you need to put it as a part of your plan. So, but most of the people just forget about it. They do this patch and they just forget about it, and then a QA discovers it, and then they're just on your ass, and that becomes a major bug, and then you get in trouble. A long time ago, when I used to do this kind of work, if I patch something up, inside I would say to do, fix this way or something like this. But lately what I do, I just say fix it now, okay, or something like that. And when I'm maybe every week or so, I'll go through those. You can just search on those keywords because it's just a comment in your code, and then you just fix it when you get a chance, so you don't forget about it, and fix it before anybody knows it, right? So that's the strategy. But the thing is, don't try to write patches unless you have to. And if you have to, then put some sort of comment and schedule it. Make it a part of your plan so that you don't forget about it. Okay, the third mistake is no need to check for the edge conditions. Edge conditions are very important. For those who don't know what edge condition, you should know, but a simple example of edge condition would be, let's say if you have a function and you're doing some string manipulation, right? What if somebody passes a number or undefined or something that is not a string? It could break your code, and sometimes it could break your code such that every subsequent code would be broken, and then you get in trouble, right? So that's called edge condition. When you design, need to put that in part of your plan, because you can say, okay, I have a field, I need to make sure that the input should be number. If it's not a number, then I need to either throw an error or let user know that they should enter a number or something, right? So these are edge conditions. So you need to think about them while you are coding or before you are coding, not after you finish coding and then think about, okay, now let me handle all the edge condition. Because remember, writing code from scratch is easy, refactoring is hard, and it's very expensive. So if you're doing a lot of refactoring, it's because you are not remembering all the edge conditions. A fourth mistake is I'm not a QA, and I don't need to write unit test or acceptance tests for my code. I know it's double work. You have to write your code, then you have to write your tests, then you run your test, you fix it. It's double the work, or at least more work than normal, right? But writing unit tests, writing acceptance tests are very important. I realized my initial career, I didn't think of testing as something that is valuable. But because I do a lot of front-end programming, and I know with that, if I don't write a lot of test cases, and if I don't do a good job at it, I would pay the price. And let's say if I change a tiny bit of code and I test it, I just run through some scenarios, right? Oh, everything works fine. And then I push the code, I commit the code, and then later on somebody else's code is broken because of my change. Because our human brain have limitations. We can't think of all the conditions, and if you have written the test, then maybe your test may not be broken, but their test would break because you have to run everything, right? So you have less and less regression if you have unit test and acceptance test. And nowadays the new fashion is called test-driven development, where actually they write test first before they actually write their actual code. And as they're writing, the test has to pass. So that's called test-driven development. I don't do that, but I think in the next project, I'm going to try it out because I think that would make my life much easier. And the last mistake is, as a developer, people don't like to write comments. So the last fifth mistake we make is no need to put comment here, right? Okay, I am the most guilty in here because I don't write comments. I hate writing comments. I like to write rationale, but writing comments is nothing. I feel kind of boring. I would rather write tests than comments. But I think if you have time, I think you should write comments. Not everywhere, but at least some of the complex logic that you develop, as you age, your memory would fade, just like mine is fading. I am way older than you think. And when that happens, after 3 days after you write your code, you won't remember the logic, the rationale behind what you did, okay? And you may spend a few hours figuring out your own code, right? So I feel that you can avoid that, a lot of it, by just writing a few lines of code. Say, hey, I did this here because of this, okay? You don't have to write comments everywhere. Like if you define a variable, you don't have to say, oh, I'm defining a variable. It just adds a lot of lines to your code. But you should write comments where it matters. So for your own sake, and if somebody takes over from you, then they would know what's going on. And often that's the case, right? People move on and somebody coming in, they would have a lot of hard time because they, or you would have hard time if you're gonna inherit somebody else's code, right? So it's a courtesy to write at least where it matters. So that's about it, folks. I hope I communicated this well, and I hope you liked this video. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to write a comment. It just takes a few seconds, right? So